Today's guest is an influential leader in education and community. We want to welcome Yanni Velasquez to Vinyl to Viral. He is a UC Berkeley alum. That's how I know him, my big brother, my friend from my freshman year till today. So happy that you're here with us. He is accredited with launching Lick Wilmerding High School's first ever ethnic studies course. Got his master's at USF, so definitely a lot of Bay Area love tied in education. He's worked across the Bay in Oakland and Berkeley. You've probably seen him at the Multicultural Center. He's done work for nonprofits like SMASH and Asian Health Services, a lot of community building, designing, and educating our youth for the future. And we want to welcome Yanni Velasquez to Vinyl to Viral.
Yo, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
I just want to say I'm really grateful to be between both of you in this space. Also just very proud of you, Bobbie, because I feel like at the blink of an eye, we were both just starting undergrad. And now I'm the first studio I've ever been in talking about what you all see as some professional gift. And it feels really good to hear that back because a lot of my journey is rooted in feeling like I still have to do more in order to get my foot in the door. And it's a story I've told a million times, and it's actually rooted both in my role as the most recent associate director for the Center for Civic Engagement. I graduated from Lick Wilmerding High School in San Francisco. For those who don't know about the school, obviously the school means a lot for me to graduate and then give 6 years of my life right after college, right back into it. And a lot of my trajectory of being a professional educator and also me as a person has been rooted in belonging, and also with that story being so rooted in not having belonging growing up. And I think attending Lick Wilmerding High School in San Francisco, it's a predominantly white institution. We call it a PWI. At the time, I was one of the only Filipino students, Filipino males specifically, to be in my class. It was the first time that a lot of people have met a Filipino. It's so ironic because the school is located in my neighborhood, which is primarily Black and brown folks. So when you have all these people commuting from across the city at this super highly selective school, and yet you're the only one who represents your neighborhood, with it being situated in your neighborhood, it's something that was more confusing as I proceeded my life into a professional educator realm. But at the time I was like, just be yourself, do your own thing. And I would say fast forwarding, I really never felt this sense of being a brown person or really identifying as Filipino until halfway through my high school career. And that's when I was put into an honors U.S. history course. It was the first time ever I was the only brown student in a classroom of 12. And when you combine that with having curriculum every other day that's so Eurocentric, when you have white students who are homies, you have other classes with them. But in this class, when they raise their hand, they're speaking another vernacular. I'm like, yo, I can't code switch. I know code switching, but I can't code switch like that. And it came to a point where I started trying to dress stereotypically white. I had button-up khaki pants because maybe if I dress more like them, I'll manifest feeling smarter, and I just felt more dumb. So I resorted into owning myself and understanding how I was perceived. Just as a high schooler, I was the brown kid, so I'm already not doing well. Why don't I just come to class with sweats, my hood on, my cap on, because I'm already at a loss.
Wow.
And it was the first time, and this is probably the root of everything moving forward, that I felt like I had my back against the wall. That was it. I had to push back. And I went up to my teacher at the time. I was like, do you notice that I'm the only brown student in your class? She's like, yeah. All right, for real. I am not.
So that the elephant
cool. And I was like, I just
me.
feel, I know I'm not doing hot in your class. And I'm an academically driven student, especially growing up Asian American. I've been socialized, and I've never worked so hard for a class just to feel so left behind. And I just told her, I feel like confidently I'm the lowest performing student in your class. And I'm trying to put two and two together. For some reason, I feel like it's tied to me being the only brown student. And I don't know why. I said, when I don't raise my hand, I just want you to know there's so much that I'm feeling, so much confusion, my heart is racing, all these feelings. And I don't want you to think that I'm not trying. And so that really was an instance where school felt like survival. I physically had anxiety as a brown student going to class. I really felt like the lack of learning specifically about history with folks that don't look like me actually made it so hard to engage. And I think the last point I'll say just about that experience is that I would come to class sometimes and I would have seats next to me. I would come early and students, whoever the last student, no one would sit next to me until it was the last seat. When I was in table groups, right? So you have to be with folks. They'd be like, yo, pair share. I'll be in a group of 3. They'll talk to each other like I'm not there. And I felt like the epitome of not belonging, the epitome of like, you're dumb. You could feel it. Kind of propelling me forward. Let's bring it to working at Liquid Meridian High School. I knew at the end of the day, as a senior, I just wanted to come back to the school and make sure specifically no Black or brown student had to go through what I went through. I didn't know what the title was. I didn't know where that position could be. But the way I survived really through that school was talking to as many Black and brown educators, those who worked in the admissions office, coaches, other teachers. They're all essentially my counselors. And I felt counseling at the time was so underutilized. It was so hidden, also stigmatized. I didn't even think about going to a counselor. I was like, I'm just going to go to, it felt like they're all my parents, my aunts, my uncles. And so I just had this dream of coming back one day. I won't spend too much time at UC Berkeley, but essentially that's where I decided to pursue ethnic studies. And I was like, what's a field of study that connects inherently to race? Academia, storytelling, belonging. And I was so grateful for my older brother, Brandon Bassa, who was an older brother figure to me like I was to Bobbie, who just told me it's, this branch of sociology that he's studying. He thinks I really like it. And I never felt like so at home in a class. Like I felt, even though I couldn't do I didn't do the reading sometimes, I could sound like those white students in that class. Because the practice of ethnic studies, being able to tap into your lived experience, whether you're white, Black, or brown. And I was locked in and I loved it. So fast forwarding, I kept such tight relationships with all those who took care of me at Liquid Meridian. So as soon as I graduated, they cast the net. Would you be interested in applying? And I landed there, and I've been there for 6 years. And going to the role and bridging that dream, I really got to live it out. I was the associate director for what we call the Center for Civic Engagement. Not every school has it.
But I mean, reading that in your title, no shade to Hayward High. Shout out to all my farmers in the Bay. We didn't have that. So tell us what that is in that role for the school.
Right. And I like to frame it in 3 pillars. It's a student hub. It's a physical space and also a program at the school. So the Center for Civic Engagement, we really prioritize student leadership development, belonging, and service. Those 3 intersecting to really not just build a student, but build a person. So it's great because at the start of every year, I did leadership training for students who want to lead clubs. That could just be like a podcasting club or a basketball club. And it's also the students who lead affinity clubs like the BSU, Latinx Unidos, the Filipino Club. And it's so great to be able to pass on all the leadership I learned as a student who filled those roles in high school, student who continued to work in those spaces in college. I'm so grateful I get to hand these tools to you as someone who looks like a lot of these BIPOC students. So there's a lot of leadership development, also hard skills, professional speaking, also bring in what I call that critical consciousness, specifically to students who live and come from historically marginalized backgrounds. I'm not going to just say public speaking is about opening your chest, standing tall, and projecting and using your pauses. When you're a brown person up there, you just got to be aware that some people also might not take you seriously. And I'm like, raise your hand if you felt that way. So it's also this sense of developing how do you counteract that stigma or that internalized sense of oppression when you are public speaking. And the other 2 pieces are around belongings, around mentorship programs. In my role, it always feels like it's beyond what's just on your job description. For me, I love staying late after school because I love working with students.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, Kuya, that's what they call me. And they're like, can I talk to you about something? And it's work, but it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean? That's why I'm there.
It's engagement, right?
That's Center for Civic Engagement. Yeah, exactly.
And for our listeners who don't know, what does Kuya mean? And why have you taken on that title instead of Mr. Velasquez?
Yes, I appreciate that question. Kuya is part of my Filipino culture. Right off the bat, it's usually synonymous to older brother, but it's also not tied to bloodline. So you could be my Kuya right now and be like, yo, what's up, Kuya Q? And I know other cultures have something pretty similar to that too. So I wanted to go in as Kuya because, my parents growing up said never call an adult by their first name. That's just messed up. It's like disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I know specifically in the level of institution that I was working in, a lot of, especially white adults, just call me by my first name or call me Mr. and Miss. I'm like, that's too professional. I feel like that level of communication already sets a barrier. And it's not objectively wrong. It's just all cultural for me. Let me do something that feels more familial. And I'm so happy that on my very first day of work in 2019, I got on the mic. And that's what I led with. My name's this. In my head, you're never going to hear that name again. Everyone just call me Kuya. Everyone repeat after me. Say Kuya. And it's been my name there for 6 years. And it's crazy because some students would be asking for a letter of rec, and I get a reference and it'd be Kuya Velasquez. Yo, that's not, yo, I'll write this for you. Yo, that's not my name though. You know what I mean? So now also leaving the school, we have Kuyas everywhere. And I'm so happy that for many of them, I got to be their first Kuya. Being an educator is always beyond yourself because you're not always going to be that place forever. I tried my best to leave everything I got when I transitioned out. And you just got to have hope that there's other educators who are as seasoned who bring some things that I can't bring. Yeah. And you got to open up just to having an abundance of Kuyas and ates, that's what we call older sisters as well.
No, that's cool. I feel like I got a Kuya there. I call him OG though. Yanni Powell, who runs the Other and Belonging Institute out of Berkeley, is my OG. So when I landed in the Bay Area, he was my Kuya. And at that time, othering and belonging really was popping up in a major way where people started to talk more and call it out belonging, calling out othering, and then really understanding, oh shoot, we all have a place. And that's what I'm hearing. What your work has been there, you being that safe space and people knowing that they have a space at Cal Berkeley.